Hey there, this is Dennis Anyone with Dennis Hensley. It's a podcast about making things up and making things happen. I love creative people. I love what they bring to the world. I connect to it. I feel like they are my people, and I love to talk about how people hang in. And that's just one of the reasons I loved the interview that you're going to hear in a few minutes. Leah McKendrick wrote, directed, and starred in a movie that I loved last year called Scrambled, about her own personal quest to freeze her eggs and the journey she went on. It's like a rom-com with yourself kind of movie, and I loved it. I've watched it multiple times, and I like it more every time. I knew her because I met her in dance class a few years ago, and then we have common friends, so I've kind of seen her around at different things. And we were in hip-hop class together a few months ago, and we decided, let's make this interview happen, and she did it. And we recorded this maybe over a month ago. At the moment, I believe she's in Vancouver shooting her next movie, Voicemails for Isabel, for Netflix. It was a script that got her a lot of attention a few years ago, and then whatever the configuration of creative people that were working on it, I think it changed, and now she's doing it. She's directing it in Vancouver. I wanted to interview Leah because I feel like her talent is so undeniable. Like when you watch Scrambled, and I Googled Voicemails for Isabel, and I guess it was part of like a blacklist kind of competition. Anyway, there were a few pages of it floating on the internet, and just a few pages from the script, and I read it, and I'm like, man, so often when you go to like talks from people that are successful in the business, and they're talking to young people about how to succeed, how to make it in Hollywood, and one of the things they'll sometimes say is be undeniable. Be so good that you can't deny it. And that's what I was thinking when I was reading those pages. It was only a few pages, but I was like, man, she has a voice. She also has a story credit on the upcoming movie this month, I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's a reboot or a refresh of the movie from back in the day with Sarah Michelle Gellar and Jennifer Love Hewitt. Anyway, she worked on that, and it's coming to theaters this month, July. I love this conversation, but before we get to that, I have some business to tell you about. I am going to submit for the podcast awards. Derek and Romaine, the people that I'm part of their podcast family, they emailed me and they said they can't win anymore because they've won too many times for the Derek and Romaine show. So they want me to submit to enter the podcast awards. And so I'm doing that. And you had to pay $50 to enter. And I'm like, oh, all right, we'll see. So anyway, if you've ever been tempted to donate to my virtual tip jar before, now would be a great time to do it. You can do that at DennisAnyone.net. Anyway, so I have a little message to send about how you can vote for me on the Podcast Awards. All right, once again, it is Podcast Award season, and we have put ourselves in the running for the best LGBTQIA podcast. So here's how it works. You follow, you go to www.podcastawards.com, and then you do the following things. You press the blue button that says click here to vote. You register or log in if you've already registered. While registering, make sure you click the box that says, please consider me as one of the listeners that will randomly be selected to vote on the final slate in August. This is a very important step, they say, as it really helps decide the winner. Vote for me in the following category, LGBTQIA. And as long as you're there, you can vote for my friend Romaine Patterson because she's running for Best Female Hosted Podcast for her show, The Dildo Whisperer, in the health category. All right, and then you select Save the Nomination at the bottom of the page. That's all you need to know for now. I will keep you posted about it. I'm going to post this also on my Facebook page. I think it's cool to be considered for that, and they've won it a bunch of times, so maybe it's worth the $50. I don't know. I do believe in the podcast. I'm very proud of the work. Sometimes I listen back to these interviews when I'm editing, and I'm like, this is good. I'm so proud of it. And the other thing you could do is join my Patreon and Substack. I have a second podcast there called Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay. I talk about pop culture. I talk about different sort of upbeat things, hopefully, in the culture. But I always end with a little chunk about happiness. I've gotten really into what makes people happy, what the science shows, tools that I've used in my own life, and I always like to end with that. I'm very interested in that topic. So go to Patreon or Substack and look for Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay, and you can enjoy it for free for a while, and then there's going to be a mix of free content and paid content. Anyway, that's what I'm up to. Enough of the plugs. Here is the interview with the multi-talented and very delightful Leah McKendrick. Joining me now from Los Angeles, it's Leah McKendrick. She is an actor, a writer, a director. You do it all. You go to dance class with me.
Yes, I do.
You're the hardest working woman in show business. And
oh my gosh.
I'm so excited that this is happening.
I'm so excited. You have been so patient and lovely. I'm so happy we figured it out.
Well, I first remember meeting you. You were in a movie called Say Yes, and I interviewed the director, Stuart Wade, for my podcast. And then the very night I talked to him, or the very night I saw it, you were in my hip-hop class, and I was like, wait, I think that's that actress that was just in that movie, and she was so good. So, Yak, and then we also have common friends. You're good friends with my friend Andrew. And
yes.
Yeah, so you made a movie called Scrambled that came out last year, and it's now on Hulu. When we did our year-end movie wrap-up episode of this podcast, I went on and on about Scrambled. So I don't know if those views have been rolling in, or if you get a check every time I say that. I doubt it. But I love it, and I went
Maybe
back.
I do.
Maybe you do. I went back and watched it again, and it's so good. It's so wise. It's so funny.
Oh.
And you wrote and directed and acted in it, and you made that thing happen. And I think one of the things that I want to talk to you about, in addition to all the stuff that's coming up for you, is how did you pull that off? Like, you got it distributed, the whole thing. Did it start with a big deal, or were you pretty indie when you started that out?
Oh, we were totally indie.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
We were fully just pulling money together, but I will say my producers are heavy hitters, and Jonathan Levine, one of my producers, a big famous director. Yeah. Another producer, Brett Haley's a big director. Another producer, Jillian Borer, she's used to be the president of Lionsgate. So I had a team with me. You know, I wasn't alone. And something kind of miraculous happened, and we got a negative pickup deal with Lionsgate, which was sort of like, and we did not ask for it. We did not expect it. We were really ready to just go make the thing super shoestring. I mean, it still made really small, but them stepping in and saying, we're going to give you this deal and you can make the movie that you want to make, was like, I had never even heard of anything like that. I didn't even know that that was possible, that a studio could make a deal like that. And it was the best of both worlds, being able to have, still beg, borrow, and steal, but have the power of a studio behind you, still get to go to South by Southwest, which is where my first film premiered, and I'm very close to the festival, and I believe in South by, but then also getting to go to theaters. So it was kind of this really weird hybridized version of making a movie, and it was tough in many ways, but it was also like the dream, the ultimate dream in many ways.
So you knew Lionsgate was on board as you were making it. It wasn't like we made it and they're going to buy it. So you had a bit of that going in as you were starting to shoot.
They came in like 3 weeks before.
Wow.
And we were still closing the money, because there's a whole contractual deal that has happened. That was still happening. Contracts were still happening while we were shooting. So it was like slapped together and it was a wild way of making movies, but I don't know if filmmakers are listening to this, but my advice to filmmakers is always like, give yourself a start date, because so many people in this business are like, we're putting this together and we're attaching this, and it's like so amorphous, and it's like, oh, maybe Amy Adams is doing, somebody's reading, and Rachel Zegler's reading, and this person at whatever Blumhouse is and it's like nothing feels real.
Nothing ever feels real.
Because a lot of things aren't real, right? And what I realized is if nothing is real, you have to be the real thing.
Right.
And you have to sort of, even if it's fake it till you make it, it's like, give it a date. No one has to know that was an arbitrary date that you made up in your head.
Right.
That you don't really have any ties to that date yet. But suddenly, if you believe it, everybody starts treating it with some reverence. Yeah. And that's what I realized. When you have a start date, it's like, you're in or you're out. We are a moving train. So get on board or hop off, because I'm leading the charge.
Yeah. One of my heroes that I look up to is Mark Duplass, the actor and writer.
Oh my God.
But his whole thing is the cavalry's not coming. You have to do everything. Because I know there's times as a creative person where you're like, do I have to do every goddamn thing myself? Yeah, you do. That's it. I mean, people come along, but it's good to think that, yeah, you do. Like, kind of.
It's so funny because I talk to my therapist about this all the time. That's sort of like the mantra of my life. And in some ways, it's beautiful because I haven't waited around. And I think it has served me to feel that, like, I guess it's just me, so I have to figure it out. But there's also a sadness to that.
There is. Yeah.
There's a loneliness and feeling like the only way that I am chosen is if I choose myself. But I also go, well, I'm not a patient person. I'm not built to sit and wait to be chosen. Right. I'm not built to just dream and not act. And I just know that about myself. I have a really hard time in the passenger seat. And if you know that about yourself, or even if you spent your whole life in the passenger seat, it's time. It's time to get in the driver's seat. Life gets a lot more interesting.
Oh my gosh, you're interesting. Well, that theme of not being chosen is central to Scrambled. And it's about a woman who freezes her eggs because she realizes she's, of a certain age and all her friends are paired off and they're all having babies and she hasn't found her person. You always say your person. And as a single gay man, it rang so many bells for me. There's a point where she has a bit of a meltdown and she goes, if I have to buy one more gift for $70, and yes, I'm like, yes, $70. That's how much it is. Like, it is so well observed about what it feels like to not be the person who is hitting those benchmarks in life. And just last week, somebody that I know on Facebook that I met at an event years ago and we were friendly and whatever, is now in love. And it was the boyfriend's birthday, and there was a 2-minute montage on Instagram of their love affair. And I was like, and I watched that fucking thing from start to finish.
Yeah, you did.
What it gets at is if you hit those rites of passage, if you get married, if you have babies, you don't just get one party and a gift. You get about 10.
Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah.
So
you get to tour. You tour like the Beatles.
Yeah. It's the Eras tour of celebration.
It's the Eras tour. So, you're everywhere. You're changing the show up. You got costume changes. It's
you're
real.
bringing in tortured poets. So talk to me about Nellie's fed upness rang true to me.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that in terms of your own life or where that came from.
It's so interesting. I haven't done press lately because I'm headed into my next project. So you're catching me at a really specific time because I'm a bride now. I got recently engaged.
Congrats.
And I'm finally that girl, and I'm having a hard time with it. And it's been hard on me because
it's not your brand.
I do feel it's not my brand, and I feel the pressure. I feel like
betrayed. You did what?
Yes, totally. And I think I have this pressure on me to not conform and to not become this color by numbers bride, to be unique, to be myself, to be, different. And that is so hard to do within this industry. I mean, it's like you should have seen the number of dresses that I ordered and tried on for my engagement party. I mean, an embarrassing amount. And finally I just said, I'm not going to wear white then. I'm not going to wear white because none of this makes sense. All the dresses look the same. They're all cut the same. This doesn't feel like me. It doesn't resonate. And I have to do it my way. And it's been a really weird, I feel like my next movie is probably, when I have some time, is probably Bridezilla, about a girl who feels such consuming pressure from society. Even you pointed it out, your person, as though there's one person for you.
Right.
As though you're the one, as though there's only one. Your big day, as though there's only one day. And I feel like you're receiving all this messaging that the stakes are life or death, that they're so high. And it has brought out a really dark side of me. I have not been my best self. I have definitely had some Bridezilla vibes. I'm already a Virgo. I'm a director. I'm already very, very, very detail oriented and very particular. But in my movie, I think she starts to literally transform. It's like a body horror. It's like my substance where she's like, body is literally transforming. because of all of these microaggressions within the bridal industry. So I am in a new era in my own life where I'm on the opposite side of the table, and that doesn't feel right either.
It's interesting. But also you remember vividly what it's like to not be that person, because
gosh.
you wrote such a well-observed, angry, powerful piece about it, which I find so moving.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I did not know what went into freezing your eggs. I did not know what a process that was. And I'm sure a lot of people that saw your movie are like, wow, I didn't know that it was all of that work and injections and money. And have you been hearing from people that are like, thank you for showing what this is like?
Yeah, a lot of people. That's a common reaction, even from my own family. Like, I had no idea. People hold me a lot after they see my movie in theaters. People hold me and hug me. And I think I think somebody told me that after watching my movie, some guys called them and just said, I'm sorry, I had no idea what you went through. I knew you were freezing your eggs, but now that I saw this film, I have a deeper understanding of the pain and the isolation. And man, I mean, how epic is that? How I'm obsessed with that response. And I feel that blows my mind, because I think I was very focused on sharing. I was like, this one's for the girls, but I don't think I realized how people would respond to it that are not the girls that are going through it. And it could be educational or, lend them, a little, you can get to walk in her shoes a little bit. And isn't that the point of film? Yeah. Isn't that what great art does?
Yeah. She's sort of heartbreaking, because what it shows you, and what I'm learning in my life, is you don't have to be a fuck up to fuck up in your life. You don't have to be, I just have that shoplifting problem and I can't put down, you know what I mean? Like, you can just be someone that tries hard and circles the drain for years. And
sometimes you just got to steal a lip gloss, You might not be a shoplifter, but sometimes you just need your fucking lip gloss at Ulta, right?
Yeah, you do. When you were starting to write this, did you do much research? Like, how did you find out about that world? Had you had experience in it? And what surprised you that you learned?
I froze my eggs a year prior to making the movie. And I definitely did some additional
you went through
research.
It. Like, I wasn't sure that you had gone through it. So you had absolutely gone through it.
It's based on my real experience with my family. It's based on my real experience with my ex. It's based on my real experience. A lot of what you saw is exactly what happened, or some heightened version, fantastical version of what happened, imaginary version, or just kind of an extension of what happened. But so there's just so much of me in that film. It's kind of crazy. I don't watch it because it's like so raw, you know.
Feel exposed by it.
Yeah, big time. And I'm at peace with it being out there, and I love the reaction that it received, but I don't need to rewatch myself in that place, because there were moments, I remember when I was shooting it, where, you've been shooting for a few weeks and your brain, you're on overdrive, you're eating, sleeping, dreaming, breathing your film, where I would be like, injecting my tummy or whatever. And I would almost like feel that I was back there injecting myself, because I'm so in that same headspace, being heartbroken and isolated and lonely, because in some ways that's what it can be to revisit through your art, right? Through your work. So I'm recreating my real life, and it was kind of a trip. I don't know if I'll ever have the same experience, but I think the rawness, the vulnerability in it is really real, because it was so recent. I was still living that life when I shot it, and still had the same questions. And now I'm engaged, and I met, my quote unquote person, and it has changed me in a lot of ways. It changed my point of view on love in a lot of ways. But I love that girl in Scrambled who wants to believe that it's out there, and wants to believe that maybe I don't feel maternal, but maybe someday I might, and I want to protect her.
Yeah. And Nellie writes a letter to the eggs at the end, saying, "You're the most intentional thing I've ever done in my life." And I think that's so beautiful. I cry on this podcast all the time. So I do.
Thank you.
The actors in that movie are so good. And some of them were familiar faces, but I also got the feeling, I know you've done those other smaller projects that I knew about, and you're just a community girl. I bet they were people you knew. It had that feeling of like, I know all these really talented people, and we're going to create this thing, right?
Always. Always. That's how you do it. And I hope to continue as my career progresses. I hope to continue to just be able to call up the people that I enjoy as humans, you know, because I think this is such a sensitive, empathetic, personal, vulnerable art form. On some level, you're in a cocoon together. So you want to pull in the people that you trust and that you feel safe with. So I always fight for my team and my friends.
Well, Nellie experiences a series of men, some that she'd met before, some that she's revisiting as she's trying to decide, like, you know, can I find somebody and lock this down so I can get pregnant or whatever? And there's the Burning Man and the different categories. And they were also specific, very well observed. When you were thinking about those, were you like, oh, that's going to be Josh? Or like, were there certain types that you knew, like, oh, that actor can really bring that to life?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very specific in my head.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm writing for the actor. So, for example, Sean, who's the one that got away.
Yes.
It's not a huge screen time role, right? He's kind of got this one super pivotal scene, but I was like, it's Harry Shum. Yeah. I didn't know him, but I knew it was him.
That's so interesting.
I wrote him a love letter and I explained that it was always him. It's always been him. And it had to be him because he's portraying somebody real in my life. And he said yes. And so I go, magical things happen when you are so specific. Your vision is so specific. That rarely happens that you get exactly the person that you want. And sometimes that's not the best version of it, your first initial instinct. But sometimes the dream, that initial instinct is the right way to go. I always believe in fighting for the dream.
I got to write an award show for Outfest. I think it was for something, and Harry was the host. So I wrote shtick for him, and he was very nice and very handsome. And
so handsome.
Yeah, and he didn't even do any dancing, even though he could have at any moment.
Oh my gosh. Did you know that he went on tour with Beyonce? When? He was a backup dancer for Beyonce.
That timing doesn't seem right to me. Like when early Beyonce?
Yeah, I mean,
this was before Glee.
This is before Glee.
It had to have been before Glee. He was a Beyonce dancer. That tracks.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Is that the craziest?
Oh my God.
Iconic.
Nellie, your character's thing is she dances around a room, which I think is such a specific character thing because it didn't feel like, oh, this is a cute moment for the trailer. It felt like therapy for her, or like a part of her.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you from dance class, so talk to me about dance generally.
Oh my gosh, it's everything to me. It's everything. Music is such a big part of the process for me as a filmmaker. I was a singer. I was a pop singer before I was a filmmaker. And that was always my like childhood dream, was to be like Britney, you know? Yeah. And so growing up in San Francisco where I'm from, I was very frustrated because I always knew what I wanted to do for a living. And I didn't feel like a regular kid that should go to school. Like I just had so many creative dreams that I was sort of like, this is really, isolating here in this regular girl's life. And I would just dance and dance and dance in my room. I went to dance class, I would do musicals, but I felt so alive in my bedroom and so safe and so myself dancing to Britney or to Beyonce or to Pink in my bedroom. And so Michael, Madonna, Whitney, like all the legends, right? And so that to me is like me in my purest form.
Yeah.
Like if I die and I'm a ghost that haunts your house, it's probably you're in the kitchen and you hear Britney come on again.
Britney? What's the best Britney? Slave?
Oh my God, Slave.
Thank you.
Easy.
Slave and
Easy.
Toxic, solid runner-up. Boys, underrated gem.
Love Boys.
Right?
Love Boys.
Yeah, it's so good.
I love Oops. I'm a classic Baby One More Time girl. Yeah. I can fuck with sometimes. I mean, I'm a Britney, like, die fan.
Yeah.
But also when I was a little tiny girl, I was just very obsessed with Michael and Madonna. And I then very obsessed with like the vocalists, Mariah and Celine. So I'm just like such a pop girly through and through. And I think there's just like a frustrated pop star in me.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be a lot of pop girliness in all of my films.
Well, you have the Mandy Moore Candy montage.
Yes,
that's a solid pick. And I bet not as expensive as some of the bigger girlies. Like, that's sweet spot.
Right. But also should not have been able to afford that. And I really appreciate Mandy and the team letting us have it at our budget level. It was really special.
Also, you have Chappell in your movie, right?
Yes, I do.
Before it was sort of like early Chappell, right as she was starting to sort of pop, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was crazy because I was searching through independent female pop girlies because of our budget, because I just wasn't going to be able to get all the big label, big artist songs that I wanted. I knew Candy was one that we really needed to have.
Yeah. Was that in Center Stage? I feel like it was in Center Stage.
Remember Mandy did a song specifically for Center Stage.
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah.
Kind of like mid-tempo jam. Yeah. I'm trying to remember.
No, I should know this. It's Center Stage.
Sing it. I could almost sing it. It's like, oh God, it's going to come to me in the middle of this interview.
Okay.
But I was searching through indie artists to find somebody that I connected with, and I heard Pink Pony Club, and that was not the original song that we were going to use. And we were struggling to clear the song that we were originally going to use. I'm not going to name it because I think it's so wrong now. Now that I found my Pink Pony Club, I'm like, I can't even imagine that I ever considered another song. But when I heard Pink Pony Club, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And we were having such a hard time clearing the other one. And I said, could you try to clear this one? And we were able to, and I can't believe how it blew up. And now I feel so tied and attached to her and to her music and that song specifically that I can't even imagine a universe where I used a different song.
It's near the end of the movie, right? Where that comes in? I'm trying to remember.
The last, yeah.
Yeah. And it was just like, yeah, fantastic. Have you met her or talked to her or have any interpersonal connection?
No, I did get to go. They invited me and I got to go to her concert and go in the VIP section and have a cool, fun night with my friends. But I have not met her, and I honor that she doesn't want to be on all the time, and she doesn't want to do the dance. And I just go, if I meet her someday, great. If she's just, finding her balance between her work life and her personal life, good for her. Yeah. I love her from afar. Yeah.
Nelly and the movie are quite sexual, and I love the frankness and the sort of, this is what it's likeness of it. Talk about your approach to those scenes generally, like how you thought about them.
So funny because I was with my cinematographer today and I was telling her that I barely remember. I remember the images that I showed her, but I'm trying to get in my head when I was planning the film and how I wanted to shoot it. And I remember using words like I want it to feel really raw. I don't want it to be beautiful.
Right.
Because this isn't like love. This isn't The Notebook.
Right.
In the end, she ends up with herself. She falls in love with herself, right? So we don't need lovemaking. And the truth is that a lot of the sex I've experienced, especially in my, early 30s when I'm searching to feel meaning in this chapter of my life, because I feel so in my panic years where I'm like you said, I'm not meeting these benchmarks, right? I'm not hitting these benchmarks.
TikTok,
I guess I have to find a
Yeah.
Yeah. No good comes of that feeling of this scarcity mindset, right?
Yeah.
So I don't feel that I experienced a ton of intimate connection at that period. And so I was like, I'm not going to create some artifice and put it on screen that doesn't feel authentic to me and sell girls that know better. We know better. We know what sex is like with a random bartender that you at a wedding. I'm not saying it can't be good and it can't be, fulfilling in some way, but to me, I find it more revolutionary and radical to show bad sex than good sex.
I appreciate this very much because I have had less experience than most of my gay brothers. I don't have as much confidence as people seem to have. And there are people that I really am attracted to that maybe we hooked up once or twice and I'd like to see them again. But when I look back on those encounters, they weren't world rocking, and not just, and it wasn't me. It was like, it wasn't like they weren't that great. Like, so I appreciate the depiction of like awkwardness, weird timing. That guy said the weird thing. Like,
yes,
you know, anyway, it wasn't, they're not all superstars in this area. People are a little weird and awkward, and I appreciate that depiction. Yeah.
But also, if there are some dudes that you would like to revisit, you should hit them up.
Yeah.
You should send them a stranger text.
Which is what she does in the movie, yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
They'll respond. I mean, I'm a big believer in, and I will tell you, like, getting engaged, I didn't feel that there were guys that I needed to send a hey stranger text to. And I think that was important, that I texted all those guys. And I had like seen it all through, like Nelly had, and there weren't questions as far as like, maybe I should text that guy. Like, I was like, nope, I did it.
Well, it's also something I related to is that thing of like, maybe that guy was all right. I need to give him another chance. Then you sit down and 5 minutes in, he does that thing and you're like, oh, that's right.
That's right. Oh, yeah. But maybe you just need to be reminded of that.
Yeah, you do. And I'm probably the guy that has been the reminding person. Like it works both ways.
That's true.
But all of those cliches, like the things that she hates hearing, like if you're not looking, like when you're least expecting it, it'll happen. Like all the advice you get when you're that person. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you're on the other side of it. That's interesting.
It is interesting.
But
I don't like any of that. I especially don't like when you love yourself. You can't love anyone else until you love yourself.
Right.
I go, loving ourselves is a constant, lifelong endeavor.
Yeah.
You know? And we love our moms and our dads and our siblings. We don't need to be completely confident all the time and completely in love with ourselves to be able to care about other people. I really don't love the concept that you have to be this sort of like finished piece before you can find your partner.
Yeah, before you get to cuddle with somebody on the couch. Yeah.
Before you can cuddle with somebody on the couch, you have to be, Esther Perel. I don't believe that. And I mean, Esther is my icon, don't get me wrong, but I go, none of us are ever going to be Esther. She's like on a whole other wavelength. She's not even human. She's a genius.
Right.
And so I just go, I'm doing my best. I'm just doing my best. And some days I'm very kind to myself and gentle with myself. And some days I am hideous to myself and I'm still doing my best.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the lines. I wrote that down, doing my best. Nelly has a dream board, I think. I saw that in one shot. And I am a diehard dream boarder. I just like the craftiness.
Me too.
But it actually, I find it effective in my life. It doesn't change what the world brings to me. It changes the way I interact with the world. If something's on there, I'll persevere a little bit harder. I'll try a little bit harder. I'll send that email that I didn't feel like sending, or I'll stand in line a little longer to see.
Yeah. And the way that you interact in the world is what affects change and has the world responding different to you. So in a roundabout way, it is your vision board that attract. Yeah. Because you become you attracting what the change that you wish to see.
Yeah, but it's not like, I put an Emmy up there and then I got an Emmy. Like,
and I won an Emmy. But maybe you were like, that's where I'm headed.
Yeah.
So I'm going to not clock out so early tonight. I'm going to keep it pushing. Even when it's hard, because that's where I'm trying to go. And I have my vision board. I have them on my phone.
Oh, that's cool. I create
it digitally now so that I can look at it every single, constantly. And I think it's like unconsciously sending that messaging. Right. That's my North Star. That's what I'm here to do.
Yeah, I think so. And sometimes I put easy things on there just so I could get that rush of like doing it. I find it's a very effective tool. I love that. I have a dream board party once a year. I'll invite you next time.
Oh my God. So cute. Yes. Invite me. Yes. I'll be there.
I wanted to ask you about social media because I feel like this feeling of being left out, of not being chosen, it's so exacerbated now with this thing. Like I'll see posts where somebody's like, 17 years ago today, I walked into the Whole Foods and there you were. And I'm like, you guys already won. Shut the fuck up. Like, you know what I mean? You already won. Like,
yeah.
I'm just venting.
I mean, maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't win, but they want you to believe that they won. Maybe they hated each other.
Rub.
They want you to know 17 years ago they liked each other. Just kidding.
Yeah.
No hate to your friends that met at Whole Foods, but I hear you that it does feel smug and it's a little over the top at times with some people.
I just find it so interesting that now you're engaged and you're the other character in every other character in your own movie.
It's so real. It's really wild. I wonder what it's going to feel like when I get pregnant.
Yeah.
If that's I'm one of those moms.
Yeah.
I think I'm already really rebelling against all of it because I feel so deeply like a single girl through and through for the rest of my life in a beautiful way, in the sense that I do think I have a really healthy sense of self. I'm very independent. I'm proud of what I've built, what I built for myself before I ever met my fiance. I know who I am. I'm 38. So like, I didn't get married, quote unquote, young, right? I didn't and a lot of people are getting divorced now. And so now I'm like hopping on that like first marriage when everybody's having their second marriage. And I can't imagine getting married 10 years ago. It's so not my personality. Even this I'm struggling with. I feel like a child bride.
Yeah.
So I'm getting used to all of it.
Can I ask how you met? Or was that a person in your life before or a total new person?
We met on Hinge.
Oh, wow. I'm on there. Maybe I need to not give it up.
I mean, I hate saying it, but I also, every time I say it, people go, no, it's good. It gives me hope.
Yes, it does. Yeah, that's really cool.
I know, and I'm going to keep telling the truth, even though it's a little embarrassing. But I go, the truth is, my fiance, he works a lot. He's a filmmaker as well. He works in the commercial space a lot. We would have never met each other because he was always working and we had very different friend groups.
Right.
And I just was like, I don't know where we would have we were on opposite sides of LA. I just don't know how we would have ever found each other if we were not on Hinge. So that makes me go, that's the reason that Hinge exists, to be able to connect with someone that you might not ever otherwise meet.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he would have come up to me in a bar. I don't know if I had seen him in a bar, if he would have come over and bought me a drink. And he thinks he would have, and I don't know if he would have. We would probably have made eyes at each other and never actually met. And I would have never known that was my husband.
That's
Isn't that
awesome.
wild?
That's amazing. Pete Buttigieg met Chasten on Hinge. Yeah. So
love that.
I know. I love that for them. Yeah.
It's the worst until it works.
It's the worst until it isn't.
Worst. You hate it until you love it, and then you delete it. You hate it until you delete it.
That should be the tagline. It's the worst until it works. I have a friend who I met on Scruff, and we had a little, romance hookup, whatever. And I wanted to be his boyfriend, and he wanted to be friends. And he's a dentist from El Salvador, and I would marry him tomorrow if he asked me. But without Scruff, I'm not going to meet that guy. And yet I feel like, we were meant to know each other in this life. So sometimes these apps.
What is Scruff?
Scruff is like
Scruff is an.
It's like Grindr for hairier people and older people. It's So. Yeah.
Okay, love that.
Yeah, it's.
I mean.
Yeah.
You needed to meet your boy from El Salvador.
Exactly.
And you might not ever have known him, right?
I know.
So I just go, and I will say I've met some dudes on there with various experiences. I've had the spectrum, but I also go, no, I met some nice guys on there.
Yeah.
And I maybe didn't feel that love connection, that romantic connection, but I 100% felt that somebody would,
right.
that there was some great guys on there. So I believe in the apps.
Yeah.
I miss meeting people in real life. I wish men would still approach in real life. I wish that there was more community in a place like LA where it didn't feel weird to say hi to somebody on the street or at a restaurant or at the farmer's market. I wish that we created a little bit of a more approachable, interactive society. But I think, of course, we could talk for hours about how our digital lives have affected our social interactions. We could talk forever about that. But I would say finding my man on an app really did renew my faith in the internet.
That's exciting.
He's the best thing I ever found on the internet. Yeah.
Best thing. Free shipping too, apparently. I want to know what it's like to write and direct and star in a movie when you're actually shooting it. Like, what's your headspace? Do you show up in actor mode? Do you show up in director mode? Like, how do you think about it day to day while you're making it happen?
Your brain is so on overdrive.
Yeah.
That I can't speak for anybody else, but my experience was that there's so much happening. Can you imagine if every single minute something's happening, somebody's asking you a question, move over here, somebody's fix your hair, fixing your makeup. Okay, show me something. You're looking at footage. Oh, you're talking to your actor. You're talking to your producers. If every minute of the day is being used up and your brain is going, there's no time to doubt yourself. There's no time for insecurities. There's no time to worry about how you look. There's no time to worry about what your hands are doing. There's no time. And so in some ways, it's freeing because you don't have the mental capacity to hold on to a lot of your individual baggage. I mean, as an actor, especially as a baby actor, I remember the first times that I was like on camera, even before I was like on anything professional, even when I was just doing student films, right? And I just kind of was like, what do I do? My lip is doing something weird. My eyes doing, what do I do with my hands? Where do I put them? And you're so self-aware. Because suddenly it's the feeling of being studied and watched. And then you kind of, you start to do it more and more and more and more and more. And you study yourself and you watch yourself and you take acting classes and you start to transform both as an artist and as a human. And you realize that your best work comes from when you're listening and you're not really so focused on yourself, when you're just listening to another actor. Of course, when you're working with an incredible actor, they pull you in. And that's why, you want actors that are in it in the same way. It's kind of a trust fall. But I would say as a director, I've never listened better because I'm so focused on my actors, because the only way I get to direct them is by watching them and seeing if it's feeling authentic to me. And there's not enough brain power to be worried about yourself when you're so focused on the other person. So I will say there was a panic within the first week. After a few days, I called Jonathan, my producer, and I was like, I'm freaking out because I don't know if I'm getting it. Like, I know my actors are getting it, and I'm not moving on until I know my actors are getting it, but I don't have the time to review the footage to watch myself.
Right.
And I'm scared that I don't have it. And he said, if there's a scene that you're worried, just don't even cut. Just reset going again. Get one more take. Every time that you're afraid that you might not have it, get one more take. And I was like, he's like, because you'll have it if you have, three. It's when you only have one or two takes that you're putting yourself. But that's not what soaks up the day. That's not what eats up the day. What eats up the day is moving and the camera, all the change. When you're resetting like lights and camera, all of that, it's not going again. So that was what I started to do. And then at night I would just review my footage until I fell asleep every single day. And I was like, oh no, okay, I'm getting it. Like if I felt it and I was feeling it, I was feeling it, but you're like, is it translating? I have no idea. So then you get confidence. Then you're watching yourself and you're like, no, I'm doing it. Okay. And then you start to let go a little bit, but I'm about to do it again. So it's kind of crazy because it's been a couple of years and I'm back to those insecurities where I'm like, do I know how to do this? How did I do the last one?
How did that
and you're
happen?
Kind of
How
like,
did that all come together? Yeah. So you're going to, is it the movie Voicemails for Isabel? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
What can you tell me about it?
I'm headed to Vancouver in like a week. I mean, it's really wild. I just found out that I'm headed in a week to start scouting locations. And it's a rom-com. And Netflix is doing it with Sony. I have 2 studios, but it will be on Netflix next year. And I can't even believe it's happening. I'm writing it. I mean, I already wrote it. I wrote it many years ago. So it's kind of crazy that it has survived I mean, it was my first big studio sale. And it changed my life when it happened. Like financially, it changed my life career-wise. It changed my life emotionally, spiritually. It changed my life in every way. But it was my first time being so attached. So it felt like my heart was on that page. And to have to go through the process of rewrites, of attachments, of pandemic, of studio competition, of other films, it was like I did not have the thick skin or the experience to not take things personally. I didn't understand what it was to be a studio writer yet. And it was so painful for me.
So this all
to
happened
not
before
have
Scrambled.
the film.
So this happened all before.
Yeah, all
Scrambled.
this happened.
Yeah. Oh, so you went through that whole thing, and it was devastating. But now you're getting another crack, right? You're getting another crack at it.
So yeah, I mean, it was crazy because that was the first film, and then I've written many, many films for the studios now, and now I know the drill. Now I know that just because I got hired or paid, or we have a movie star, or we have a fancy production company, none of that is a guarantee that my movie gets made. Like, I didn't understand that back then. I thought, oh my God, I like sold my script and now we're going to make a movie. And wow, what a rude awakening. But it kind of is a miracle that first script that put me on the map as a writer is going to be my first big studio movie.
Yeah.
To get made for me as a director. So now, I mean, I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I'm one of the writers on, is made and is coming out in July. So, I've written stuff, but this is my first time with a big studio movie as a writer, director, and I'll be in it.
You'll be in it. Did the success of Scramble, how good it turned out, did that affect these next things that are unfolding? Please tell me that there was a cause and effect there.
Changed everything for me.
Yeah.
It was a complete game changer, truly. Truly. And I don't think I
undeniable.
knew.
It just works. I watched it twice and I'm like, the comedy lands, the sadness lands, it's original, it's interesting. It's like, it's funny. I watched it with my roommate and her 86-year-old mother. And we're like watching, and it's kind of irreverent. It's a little of that R-rated kind of, bridesmaids, train wreck kind of humor.
Yes.
And then there's a scene that's really quite graphic, and I'm sitting there with her, and I'm like, okay. And by the end of it, her eyes were moist, and she was like, "I loved it, I loved it, I loved it." I think the journey you go on, you just get it. You get what this girl's going through, and
Thank you.
Yeah, and that love affair with herself thing is very, very powerful. So I Know What You Did Last Summer. What can you tell us about that? It's
coming out July 18th. I'm so excited. I mean, I grew up such a hardcore fan. I was so obsessed. I mean, Ryan Phillippe, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar. I was the biggest Buffy fan on earth, and it was just my absolute favorite. And I had written a few reboots, and I was really heartbroken by the studio fight, the politics of it all. And I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to write any more sequels, requels, reboots. I don't want to do it. And because I don't own anything if the movie never gets made.
Right.
And then I said, I also don't want to write for other directors. I want to just focus on my own original work as a director. And then I got the call from my team saying that they were rebooting I Know What You Did Last Summer. And I was like, oh gosh. Maybe just one more. And so funny that was the one that got made.
So you went in and pitched your take on it?
Yeah. So I had, look, I came up with the take that was what I would want to see as a fan.
Yeah.
What I led with. I was like, what a dream to be this hardcore I Know What You Did Last Summer fan and to go, okay, what would be my dream version of the movie? And I thought to myself, I was very at peace because I said, I'm going to pitch my dream version. And if they don't go for it, that is totally okay. I will continue on my merry way of creating my own original content for myself. And they went for it. So, it's gone through many iterations as a film does, because logistical stuff and talent stuff. And, director comes in, has their vision, they infuse it with, and another writer comes in and infuses, it's kind of a team effort truly to get these movies made. But I'm feeling so excited to be a part of this. Like, my teenage self is just like freaking out. Like, I can't believe I got to do it. I mean, I got to go to set, of course. And when I saw Jennifer Love Hewitt on screen with Freddie Prinze, I just cried and cried and cried. And they're like, who is this crying girl? Oh, the screenwriter? I mean, I just couldn't stop crying because I thought it's almost like time folded on itself a little bit. Yeah. And I've been through so much in this industry. I came alone and with nothing really. I mean, my family in for sure, but I was broke just like everybody else right out of college. But somehow I found my way to this moment where I'm with my heroes. It was one of those really special moments.
That's wild. I was doing a lot of magazine journalism in those days. I interviewed Sarah Michelle.
Cool.
I went to Victoria's Secret with Sarah Michelle Gellar. It was very exciting.
Stop. That's amazing.
Jennifer Love Hewitt, I interviewed a bunch of times. Ryan Felipe, I never did, but I did Freddie Prinze Jr. for the cover of 17. And was he in the original Freddie Prinze? No. He wasn't in the original, or was he? He was.
Yeah, original.
He was.
He plays Ray.
Yeah.
Yep. And him and Sarah are married now and have been married for many years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Now
they're royalty. They are royalty.
They are royalty,
Epic.
And they're keeping it together. And you have that movie MFA that was kind of like a badass horror thing. Do you like horror? Is that one of your favorites?
Oh, I love horror. Horror is that's really my heart. Like, honestly, like I like to sort of hybridize my genres, and I like when people laugh at inappropriate times. I like when people cry at inappropriate times. I like when people are laughing, then they're scared. I just think life is messy, and it tonally swerves all over town. And so that's what I prefer to do with my work. And so I will always probably hop from this genre to this genre. But I grew up with horror films, and they're my favorite type of film. And I'm just such a horror nerd myself. So, and I have a monster movie that I'm doing with Universal and Blumhouse and Atomic Monster. And it's like my dream come true. So that one I almost can't even talk about because it's so crazy to me that I'm doing that. And I don't know how I manifested something so epic, but working on it has been like one of the most fulfilling creative experiences of my entire life.
Wow. And where is it at in the phase of everything? Is it going to get shot? Is it happening?
I mean, we're lining it up for right after voicemails.
Wow.
So I might go straight to the other. I know it's crazy. It's wild.
That is wild. You're just speaking of Scrambled, there's a real feminist bent to it. Like, you're like Nellie, like, how do you bring that into the horror genre? Because there's cliches from it that are always the girl with the tank top falling down. Like, how do you play with those tropes and sort of stay true to that part of your personality?
It's the best because I feel like of all genres, specifically horror is chock full of problematic tropes,
Yeah.
It's really sort of, with the girl up the stairs instead of out the door, the girl is getting killed in the forest. She's running through the forest. Her top is falling off. The girl has sex. So now she's going to be the first one that gets murdered. I mean, it's such a traditionally sexist genre, but that is why I think women directing that genre specifically is so interesting and so radical. And some of my favorite horror films, Raw, Babadook oh my God, we need to talk about Kevin, female directed, and they just hit on a whole other level. And I read somewhere, and I wish I could dig up this article because it really spoke to me, but she said that women know horror because women live horror. We bleed every month. We give birth. We are like literally, right. Who would know pain and agony quite like a woman?
Yeah.
I mean, we, of course, when we talk about intimate partner violence, like a woman's most dangerous predator is her intimate partner. So like when you think about what it is to be a woman in this world, why wouldn't a woman be the most equipped to write and direct horror films?
Yeah, it makes sense. Well, I can't wait to see what you do with it. My friend Ed used to call it, I still have that script from last summer. And every time he says that, it makes me laugh. So I'll probably call it that when I go to order my ticket. One, please, for I still have that script from last summer. Yeah, no, it's good. I love all those people. We're going to see them again. It's so exciting. When did you know Scrambled had come together and was like, oh, we this is working. This is. When did you feel like, this is good. I can be proud of it now?
That's such a great question. Ooh. I will tell you, I had a moment at South by. It premiered at South by, and it was scary because hardly no one had seen it because we were up against such a deadline to get it done. So I was tweaking it till the very last minute. And then you're at South by and you have a packed theater and your team is there and your friends are there and your family and all strangers and cast, and you're just like, it's a fever dream. And you're like, oh my God, what did we do? Is this any good? I don't even know anymore.
Right.
So when I'm like, my head is mush. I don't even know. Could this movie suck? And then I remember I said to my friends, because a bunch of my friends came out. We all got this big house together, and they all came out for the premiere. And I wrote this email to all of my friends where I said, I love you guys. I really want to be protected from the reviews because we have no idea. And my work here is done. You know, I'm not going to change my film for critics. The film is done. Yeah. So, and it's not my business. They can say whatever they want to say. That's their prerogative. But I want to keep my relationship to my film pure. Yeah. And so please just shield me from the reviews. You know, I don't need to know. But we're walking out of my screening, and I guess the embargo lifted at a certain time. And Becky, one of my best friends, did not listen to me.
Right.
He's like, I know you didn't want to hear any reviews, but I just have to read you one thing. And it was the headline of the IndieWire article had like premiered or whatever online. And it said, Leah McKendrick is born a star in Scrambled or something like that. And we just all screamed. We're like in Austin. We're walking down the street to our after party and everybody just screamed. Like we were like, and I think that was the moment where I went, oh my God, is my movie good? And my movie like might be okay. I might have a decent movie. And so I remember that being a moment because you're filled with so much love in the theater, but there's a part of you, the imposter syndrome in you goes, well, these are people that love me and know me and were there. Of course they're going to love this film. Like, they don't even have an objective view of it.
Well, the second time I watched it, I loved it even more. And I watched it with two other guys who were single gay guys. And we all connected so much with Nellie. That feeling of like being like because people are like, people tell you it's never too late. And you're like, yeah, it kind of is. Like, okay, it's never too late. Like all those things that you sort of believe. So I'm just so inspired by you generally. And I'm really touched that you agreed to do this interview. I want to know what your indie experience, how it reflects on the stuff that you're doing now for the studios. Like, how do you fit your head around all of it? I'm sure because of the Scrambled experience, it affects the way you go into these other things, right?
Oh, big time. I mean, it's hard. It's a hard transition because I was very, in heaven in some ways making Scrambled. I really just got to cast who I wanted. I got to hire who I wanted. And of course we always had, budgetary constraints, but you would be surprised by how many people join you in the trenches when you say, we don't have a lot of money and we don't have a lot of time, but we got a lot of passion and we're ready to go and we're ready to make a movie. Like, I think a lot of people just go, yeah, this is way, way, way beneath me, like financially. But I believe in like first time filmmakers. I believe in a chick with a vision. I believe in this being her like magnum opus. And like, I believe in her. And so miracles happen when you're just like, you gotta dream and you're out there fighting for it. Right. And I would say it's interesting to now be making my first big studio movie because you get all the kind of like bells and whistles and trailers and cranes and all this stuff. We just never would have, that was no realm of possibility.
Right.
But no, there's a lot more conversations that I have. There's a lot more people that have a say, intelligent, brilliant people that are all intelligent and brilliant, but also have differing opinions. Everybody's got differing opinions. And so learning to manage that it's not that it's new for me, but when it's something that's so personal, I'm finding a way to just go, I get protective, I get really protective of my work. I get protective of my vision. And it's a constant reminder to myself, we're all on the same team. Everybody just wants a great film.
Yeah.
And everybody has an idea of how to do that. So trying to just listen more and not get activated and go, I know that this is the person, or I know that this is the way, but going, okay, what do you think we should do? Somebody who has 30 years more experience than me.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me try that and try that on and see how that feels. And then if it doesn't feel right, then I can say, I tried it on. I hear you. I see what you're saying. But I gotta at the end of the day make this movie for me.
Yeah.
Because if I make a movie for me, for better or for worse, I know that it came from a real place. And I do believe, I'm a purist, and I believe that if you make something that's honest, people can feel it.
I agree.
People will. I believe that. That's all I know. That's all I know to be true. And that's my North Star. At the end of the day, when everyone's got an opinion and nobody is wrong.
Yeah.
I have to choose what feels right for me.
Yeah. You must have always believed in yourself. Do you feel like you did? Or were there times where you're like, because sometimes I think this is going to be the autograph, my first line of my memoir, if I ever write it. For whatever reason, I always believed in myself. That's was my first mistake. No, you didn't hear the whole thing. That was my first mistake. That really feels like a kind of true in a way, but that's because I'm in this place now, not, but yeah. What kept you going through the valleys?
I think it's exactly what you're saying. I have always known what I was meant to do. And I will say I've talked about this a little bit, and I bear with me because it starts out a little dark.
Oh, I love it.
But I think I figured out pretty early on, or at least I started to believe, I was convinced pretty early on that I wasn't pretty or talented or unique enough to be able to reach the heights that I wanted to get to on those merits alone.
Yeah.
I think there are people that are just so stunningly gorgeous or so freakishly talented or so well connected that might be enough, you know?
Right.
Like
they could kind of stumble into something pretty great. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there they are. And I didn't have that like immediate success. I had to fight for everything. And I think realizing that somewhat early on in my career made me go, well, I know one thing. And the one thing that I know is that I'm not giving up. And I know that I'm meant to do this. So I guess I will have to develop other qualities. And one of those qualities that I've always had is that I'm very, very, very hardworking.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very, very determined. So it was sort of like, okay, if you're not going to cast me in your movie, I guess I'm going to have to figure out how to make movies and cast myself. So because if I have to audition for the rest of my life, I don't think I'm ever going to get to live my dreams.
That's really interesting. So did the writing come out of a desire to like, I'm going to have to write something for myself? Because the writing in Scrambled is so sharp. It's funny. It's poignant. Everything lands and it just pays off. How did you get so good at writing? Practice?
Practice. I think I always loved writing. I would write music growing up. I would write poetry growing up. I loved to journal, and it always felt really felt really natural to me as an outlet. And I loved writing essays. I was really good at English in school, and I just loved to write. And so in college, I would write my own scenes for class instead of doing the scenes that we were assigned.
Yeah.
And I would write my own plays, and I would write my own films. And then I started auditioning, and I was getting cast, but I was working really hard, and I would put so much time into auditions, and the percentage of auditions that I would actually book, and then the percentage of the jobs that I was actually proud of, and then the percentage of those that were actually made and were decently made. I mean, it was just minuscule.
Right.
And I thought I could do this. Right. I think the material I write is better than 99% of this anyway. Right. So I think it is a little bit what you're talking about. Like I don't know that I always was like, I'm this incredible writer. I don't think it was that, but I knew how to translate my beliefs and my feelings and my stances into word.
Yeah. And it comes across so well. I
know I had a lot to say.
Yeah,
you
had a lot on your mind. There's something wise about Scrambled. It like knows things that I like. It knows things. Speaking of writing, I started a Patreon recently, and in the last episode I read the very first magazine article that I was assigned to write. I had submitted something and gotten it published blind, and then that editor gave me an assignment, and it was an interview with Florence Henderson. And I read it. It was a short. Yeah, she was the best. She was dirty and bawdy, and it was such a gift to me. But I read it. I hadn't read it in 30 years or whatever, and I was like, "This is fucking good." Like the writing was good. The sentences. I was a little bit like, and it was the first one. Like I don't know. I was a little bit like, shit. You know,
I'm gifted.
You still got it. And by still got it, meaning you had it 30 years ago or whatever. I was a little bit like the language as I was reading it aloud. It was just coming and I was like, gosh, this feels good. Anyway, it was just like a thing. I have loved this conversation. You're a hero to me. I'm so inspired by what you do and the way you just kind of made everything happen. Everyone needs to watch Scrambled. It's on Hulu. Everyone needs to watch out for I Know What You Did Last Summer and for voicemails. What is it? For voicemails for Isabel, not from her. Yay. I love it. Let me see. What's my final question for you? I've covered lots of juicy things. You know, sometimes when people in a position like you are, they might get asked back to their college or young people and to give advice or whatever. And sometimes you feel like those people, it's always fun. And sometimes you feel like, oh, that's what they think they need to say. Like, what would you say to your younger self or somebody that's like, that hasn't sort of kind of found their way yet, if that makes sense, or they're just starting out?
I would say if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
I don't think that somebody said something great. They said auditioning, writing a script and sending it around and waiting for an agent. That's like playing the lottery. Yeah. And you should continue to play the lottery. Continue to play the lottery. But I hope that you have a plan B and it involves you captaining the ship. And that might mean you make your movie for no money. And that might mean you cast your mom and you shoot it in your parents' backyard. And that might mean you pull out a credit card and you max it out for 10 grand and you make something that's just so uniquely you. Like those are the filmmakers that I'm really applauding. Yeah. Those are the people, those are my people, the people that are like, I just have this idea and I am possessed by it. Cause I'll tell you something, when I first moved to LA, I was always trying to make stuff, and I remember running into people that were like, what's the point of making that? Like, what's the point?
Making it is the point of making it. It'll exist in the world.
I don't know yet. I don't know yet what the point is, but I know that I have shit to say and I want to make movies. Yeah. And nobody is inviting you to make movies when you haven't made any movies.
Yeah.
And so I'm really grateful that I had a body of work. Maybe it was small and maybe it was independent and maybe it was short form, like say whatever you want to say. But there were hours, I had hours of shit that I had shot that you could watch out that existed before I ever started getting any of these big money deals. And so I'm really proud of my younger self for not ever turning up my nose to anything and for not always needing to have a reason to create. And I think because when you need a reason to create, you'll come up with 1,000 reasons not to, because it's really hard. And I feel you, and you're broke and you're young and you're just trying to survive in an expensive city without your family. And I feel you, but you know what? They're the most important years of your career when you first move here and you determine what you're about to do with yourself and who the fuck you are. Do you want people to know who the fuck you are? Well, you can't build a reputation based off of what you're gonna do.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I love that. So thank you for this. I'm a huge fan, and I look forward to seeing you in hip hop class. I hope you don't get too big. You can't get too big to go to hip hop class. You can't be too big for that. We will fight off the paparazzi outside if necessary to get you in there. Yeah, I love it.
I love that. Perfect.
And I can't wait to see all the stuff that's coming down the pipeline, and I'll see you in dance class very soon.
I'll see you in dance class, Dennis.
Yay.
Have a good...
This was awesome. Made my day. Thank you so much, Leah.
Oh my God, me too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Bye. Thanks again to Leah McKendrick. Check out Scrambled if you haven't seen it. Go see I Know What You Did Last Summer, and keep an eye out for voicemails for Isabel. She's so great. I love her. All right, so this happened. There has been a arts festival happening in LA, the Pride Live Hollywood Festival. We talked about it with the curators of it, Frank DeCaro and Jim Colucci, a few weeks back. Well, I've been going to stuff, and it's been amazing. So it's really had some wonderful successes. It's our first year doing it. So the first thing I saw was Saturday Night Fever. I love that movie so much, and I talk about it at length at the Happy and Gay podcast. But suffice it to say, it was a magical night because the director, John Badham, was there, along with Donna Pescow, the actress, who's so good in it. And I got to talk to her afterwards, and I asked her about the final scenes, her character. I forget the name. Is it Donna? No, that's her name. What's her name? Annette with the rabbit coat. I asked her about how she did those really hard scenes. They were sexual and violent and awful. And she said, I had just gone through like a method training period with, I think she mentioned Lee Strasberg Institute, like super method-y places. She'd just been training there, and she said if I hadn't done that, I don't know if I could have pulled those scenes off. And I thought that was really interesting. And she was also a huge, just really happy to be there for a gay group because she's supporting us in a big way. I love that. But if you want to hear more about Saturday Night Fever, go to my Substack or my Patreon, because I go into a lot of detail about what John Badham said about the movie and my own experiences, my own reflections of it. Very cool. I love that movie. I can't get enough. All right, that's enough for this week. I want to thank Oscar Rosario for mixing the episodes. My theme music is by Mark Daniels for Placement Music. We'll catch you next time on Dennis Anyone. Bye.